I've started off by sauteing my mushrooms. It's a pound of sliced mushrooms in 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. They have gotten a little bit golden and they've reduced in volume quite a bit. So now I'm going to add some white wine to deglaze. It's about 1/2 cup. The original recipe does not deglaze the pan, but I like to cook off the alcohol just a little bit so that you get that delicious flavor, and you use the wine to scrape up any brown bits on the bottom of the pan. You can certainly add it later when you add the rest of your liquid ingredients, but I just like to do it this way a little bit more. I think it makes it tastier. So add your wine, and then you want to just bring it to a boil and cook, scraping up all the brown bits on the bottom of the pan. That's called deglazing, until the liquid is reduced by, I would say, about half. Shouldn't take all that long. At this point, I'm also going to add 1/2 teaspoon of dry thyme. That can also go in later with your liquid if you want to. I think that's reduced out enough. You can reduce it completely if you want to, but as you can see, what happened is the pan is completely unbrown on the bottom, so all that brownness, which was delicious flavor, is now in the wine and mushroom mixture. To that same clean pan, add 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Let that melt for a sec. What you're going to do now is make a roux. So this is a roux that's a little bit low in fat, so you're going to want to be a little bit careful here. It's 4 tablespoons of butter and a whole 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, which is about twice as much flour as butter. Standard ratio for roux, 1:1. So that would be a 1/4 cup, but we need all of this flour to thicken the large amount of liquid. We didn't want to go too crazy with the fat, so it's a lower ratio. And you'll see the pan is kind of dry here. You still want to cook the flour to get rid of the raw flour taste, and then whisk in your liquids. I have a can of chicken broth. That's about 1.5 cups if you're making your own, or if it's at Thanksgiving and you have turkey stock left over, you can use that. You're going to want to whisk it in pretty slowly because, like I said, with these higher ratio of flour to fat roux, it can lump up even more easily than a standard roux. So take the time to whisk your liquid in more slowly, even than you would normally. I'm going to pour in the liquid from the mushrooms too, and then 3 cups of milk. Smells so good. Sauteed mushroom smell, very intoxicating, I have to say. Big fan. You're going to want to have your oven preheated to 400 degrees now. Otherwise, you'll do that once you are getting ready to take it out of the freezer. But get it at 400 because that's what this will bake at. Once the liquid comes to a boil, you want to reduce it and simmer it until it's thickened. That should take just a couple of minutes after it comes to a boil. I've already reduced mine. Now you can add 2 cups of grated Parmesan cheese. It's a very cheesy situation. Whisk that in. You can turn your sauce off, and then you're going to add this sauce to some cooked pasta. It's a pound of cooked linguine. I broke the linguine into pieces so it's easier to eat, and then drained it. And into that same pot, you put it back into the boiling water pot and pour your sauce over. And then add your chicken. It's 4 cups of shredded chicken. You could use turkey, why not? Delicious. The mushrooms. And 1 package of frozen peas. You can defrost them. They don't have to be completely defrosted, it doesn't matter. Stir that all in, nice and creamy. Sometimes I just go ahead and eat it like this. It's basically kind of like a tuna noodle casserole when it's like this. Of course, it's not tuna, but you can put tuna here too if you want to. You want to bake this, so I have 2 shallow baking dishes. These are 2-quart baking dishes, and you will bake them in here. You can freeze them directly in here and then bake them in these dishes. Try to be as even as possible. Tongs are great for doing that, I think. Gotta love something that you can just throw in the freezer, and then when you're hungry, you come home, you take it out and you bake it up, and you don't have to do practically any work, right? You can see that it's very, very creamy. A lot of that liquid does get absorbed as it's cooking, so don't be alarmed. Not that you're alarmed. You're like, are you kidding me? That looks great. It smells really, really good. Guessing that it's that delicious Parmesan cheese, 2 full cups, and now I'm gonna sprinkle the top with cheese. So another cup of cheese, half on each. So good. And then just bake it up. You can bake it directly like this right away. It takes about 30 minutes at 400 degrees, or you can freeze it, and the baking directions from Frozen are on the recipe, which is on marthastewart.com. When your tetrazzini comes out of the oven, give it about 10 minutes to cool off, just so you don't burn your tongue while you're eating it, and then serve it up. It's still so creamy. I'm so excited. Guys, if you're loving this video and you want more like this, make sure to like this video and click subscribe, because there's a lot more where this came from. It's like the most comforting thing that I have eaten in ages. I just want to like dive in. You should really give this one a try. It's pretty fantastic.